I think most of you maybe have visited Italy, so you know that, in my opinion, it's a beautiful country. Maybe I'm not very objective. And we have a sea in common, the Adriatic Sea. And here you can see Sirolo. It is exactly on the other side of Zagar, Zara. It is the other side of Adriatic coast. And Florence, my city. And of course Rome, the capital. Well, some famous persons. And so we are all in the European community. So we can move from one country to another with just a national identity card. And that's and for the first 3 months, you don't need any other documents. But if you are going to work for longer than 3 months, you need to have a registration. And but I think this is the same rule for all the countries, because we are all in the community country, European community. So, and if you are going to stay for longer than 5 years, you will be need a permanent residence. And of course, the first thing when you have a job contract, you need to have a tax code, because you need to pay taxes. And that is very easy to get, because when you have to pay taxes, no problem. We are a very bureaucratic country, but not when we have to give you the tax codes. For the first 3 months, your European health insurance will be okay in Italy too. Afterwards, you will need to change in an Italian one. Of course, here you have 2 examples of Marche and Toscana, because I am from Tuscany and Alessandra is for Marche, because every region has its own sign. You can see on the right down corner. And of course, the taxation is progressive. So the more you earn, the more you have to pay. And there are well, here the ciphers, the numbers are just indicative. It depends on your salary, of course. And accommodation. Accommodation is can vary a lot because it depends on. Of course, there are cities in the north that are very expensive, and the big cities are the most expensive. I mean, Venice, Milan, Florence. But if you live in little towns around the big cities, life can be, of course, cheaper. And this 3,600 euros, they refer to little towns. In Milan, they would be not actual, real, sorry. So you can, the easiest way is to rent a room in an apartment. You can find the best things is in internet. There are different sites where you can find the address. And if you are for just for a short time, so you can ask for hotels or bed and breakfast. But if you are going to live, if your intention is to stay longer, the best thing is to find, of course, your own apartment. Internet is a great help, but in Italy, it is a very good way, the friends. Just ask your people you know, because we are very talkative and we share information. Something about the economy. Italy is the eighth largest economy in the world, the fourth in Europe. Well, we are losing positions at the moment because the crisis that started in 2008 was very hard for Italy, and we are recovering. The last year in 2016 was for the first time better, and Italy is a great country in the sense that we have 60 million inhabitants. And there are a lot of different sectors. Of course, the main sector is services, like everywhere in Europe. It is 2/3 of people who work in services, but 1/3 is still production. And there is a big difference between north and south. And of course, tourism sector is one or maybe the most important, because we have, of course, a lot of beauties. Maybe we are not still as good as French or Spanish in how to say, in exploit this sector. We have space to be better, and I think we can improve a lot. And I think it's this year it was wonderful. The first statistics say a lot of good things about tourism, and tourism is not only is very good not only in the north but also in the south, because in the south Sicily and Sardinia, I think, are the richest regions, not only in cultural or historical monuments, but also in natural places to visit. Unfortunately, unemployment, since I think this crisis started, unemployment is very high in Italy. It is almost 12%, but this year is going to be better, around 11%. Of course, again, there are differences between north and south, and I think that Alessandra now can.
I use this. Okay. Working? I'm Alessandra. I'm EURES advisor from Italy, and in particular I live in Marche region. And I want to speak about working in Italy. Where can you work? Major sectors. Tourism, absolutely. Precision machinery, motor vehicles, cars, motorbikes, tractors, trucks. Chemicals, but not so much. Pharmaceutical, absolutely yes. Electrical goods, high fashion, above all. High fashion, clothing and footwear, ceramics. Major companies, do you know Fiat? And Fincantieri and Finmeccanica, the company with the headquarters in Trieste, builds both commercial and military vessels. Fincantieri design and builds merchant vessels, passenger ship, offshore naval vessels. So it's a most important companies. Other enterprise, Luxottica Group, Nutella, Technogym, a wellness company, Eni, Barilla, Martini, Giorgio Armani, Valentino, Versace, and so on. Ariston and Generali. Where can you work? Italy as a smaller of a global multinational corporation than other economies like Germany or France. But Italian industry is dominated by small and medium enterprises. Many of them grouped in clusters in specific industrial areas, mainly in manufacturing, primarily in the north and strongly oriented to export. So it's more important for these companies language knowledge. So our companies are more capable of facing the competition with a high quality rather than quantity. If you want to work in sector other than IT or multinational company, a good knowledge of Italian is essential. For the Common European Framework Reference for Language B1 level. Oh, okay, total employment per sector, but it's not so important now. Working conditions. The minimum working age is 16 with an apprenticeship contract. The contract is always written. Duration, a permanent contract, most common. Temporary contract was most common, and a permanent contract. Other types, job on call, internship, etc. Working hour, usually 40 hours per week. But there can be difference in some sector. For example, in public sector, we work 36 years per week. There is no minimum wage, but a job seeker and employers must always refer for assumption to the national collective agreements called CCNL. That covers conditions for all employees. Maternity leave, 2 months before, plus 3 after the birth, plus optional 6 months paid. Annual holiday period, minimum of 4 weeks per year paid, in addition to 11 national public holidays. Most of them are religious festivities. Monthly payments, 13 or 14 monthly payments, depending on the sector. In a bank sector, you can arrive 16 monthly payments. Sickness benefit is a payment in lieu of salary that is paid to workers in case of sickness. Internship in Italy is a good way to get a foot in the company's door, even if there are no guarantee of future employment. The legislation depends on which region you are living in, but normally you need to find an host institution called in Italy, is called ente promotore, like a job center or internship desk. You can look for internship vacancies online or directly on company's website in the Work with Us, Lavora con noi section. Payment. In the last few years, rules have been introduced in every region in which extracurricular internship must pay at least 400 a month. This is an expense allowance, not a salary. This is important. An internship could last for a maximum of 6 months for school leavers or recent graduates, and 12 months for unemployed people. Good knowledge of Italian is fundamental. English is an advantage. How to find job vacancies in Italy? For me, the most important website could be EURES. We have a new website of Minister of Labor, and it's called HAMPAL. And you can find the link here. How to apply for a job vacancy? The cover letter is very important. Accompanies the CV and must state the reasons for which the candidates have chosen to apply for a given position. So what I highlight: address, announcement to which you are responding, reasons for responding to the offer, what you think you have to offer to the company. This is a type of example of a cover letter, but it's more standard. A CV must be written specifically for the job for which you are applying, not the same CV for all companies. This is very important. A CV must be maximum 2 pages long. Brevity, clarity are essential elements for a quick read. Make use of underlining or bold characters to emphasize key words. Include for a photo unless requested. Have no spelling errors. Contain only truthful information. Indicate explicit authorization for the processing of personal data in accordance with our law. This is a typical European CV by Europass, but Italian company prefer a different CV, more simple. So presenting yourself well, be one time, careful study the profile for which you are applying. Be prepared to show how your experience and skills can be of use to the company. So this is very important. Be prepared to answer questions like, what are your strengths and your weakness? Be prepared to answer questions about the expectation and you have set yourself. So, Donatella, just to conclude.
There are some, well, Italy is a long country, and there is a huge divide between north and south. It is historically. But it still exists, and with the crisis, it's deeper. So it's not the same thing to go to the north or to go to the south, because realities are different. And here you can see that the gross domestic product in Milan, that is the green one, is twice higher than in Naples. Milan has a gross domestic product. It is the same as in Sweden, in the northern countries. Naples is like the last in Europe, and this is also a difference in living. And here are our region, Tuscany, my region, and Marche, Alessandra's region. We are in the center. So we belong to the north. We are, I mean, in the richer part of Italy, but not as good as the north, as good as Milan. We are more calm and quiet, if you and that's important, because even if you are looking for a job, we have different systems, because every region has its own data or its own database, and the best thing is to look for the in the regional system, so we can show you afterwards if you want our respective system. And so here are some pictures of, these are Marche, and this is Urbino, one of the most beautiful towns in Italy. Of course, this is Florence or Siena. I don't know if you heard about Palio. It's a horse races, a medieval horse races that still exists. And here are some an outlook about our economies, because in central Italy, we have very small companies, family business. And it is the strong side, but also the weak side of our economy, because it is very elastic, and so we could survive crisis better than the big companies. But it's also a weak side, because you need, in this world, you need huge investments in IT and so on, and family business has not enough money for these investments. And so they find a very nice idea. They had a very nice idea, the districts. I mean, this is Tuscany, Marche. These small companies united together, and they have associations, and they struggle with they are competitive thanks to this association. And so we can find, for example, in Italy here is where all the little companies that are in gold market. Here is shoes and leather. Here is mechanics and so on. And the same is in Marche. They have a very strong sector in furniture, wood, and of course in leather and shoes as well. Famous, if you know Tod's, they are famous shoes in the world. They are from Marche. Well, of course, we have two Ferragamo shoes and so on. And that is how it works. So it's very important to know Italian, because it is little companies, enterprises, they speak some English, but they speak Italian. We are famous, Italians are famous. You can hear we don't know very well English, so it's important to learn the language. And I think that's all of the tips are this. Of course, you have to read the contract, and you have to find someone responsible for travel and accommodation, because the accommodation can be very expensive, but I think that's okay. Thank you very much for your attention.